So when is the official launch date of Digital Assistant, even though it's available? What day are we actually launching with
Hang
it?
on, you went into it too quick there. I panicked.
Just
Why?
look at like she's like
I did. I panicked.
rabbit in the headlight.
I've never done it
I think we
before.
should leave this in.
Take it
This
easy.
is it though. Right.
Right, okay.
What's the date?
18th of January. Tested me there. Yeah,
So
18th
it's out.
Jan.
It's the what we're going to be talking about is already out now. People are using it. They've been using it for a few months already.
Yeah.
Clients have anyway. And then our official marketing push, which I guess this will be part of, is going to be the 18th of Jan. Do you want to take us through, Rich, what it actually is and how it came about
Yeah.
from the top? Yeah. You're like a naughty schoolboy there. So when it is an evolution of our actual overlay system
Yes.
in order to bring everything else into one space in the site, I guess. When was the first time you got how long ago did you actually want to do it? Was it when we were in the old office or was it before that?
It's when we were in the first office when there was about 4 or 5 of us. And the reason behind it was because we wanted, the theory was that overlays were too intrusive. So everyone was delivering. So all the rivals out there, the likes of V, people like that, they're all surfacing or firing overlays that were taking up a lot of the screen. And you've got varying messages there. So you've got certain things that weren't taking up the whole screen and like that are high impact.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you progress, as you become more detailed in what you're trying to communicate and more subtle what you're trying to communicate to a customer, you need it to be more, almost more message-like, really, almost like small captions that you're sending across to the user.
And not taking up the entire real estate of the store.
Yeah, that was it.
I
It was
guess.
almost like using a loudspeaker for everything, basically, essentially. So, and as we know, it's with anything, it's like going back to the days of batch and blast emails.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's many. You'd hope there's not many do that anymore, where they just send out 100,000 of the same emails.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's more surgical nowadays. Everyone gets better results through it. And
Mm-hmm.
that happens in every walk of life. If you're more precise and you're customizing and personalizing your communications to whatever that customer is doing on site at that time.
But it's also pulling in our other products as well.
That's it.
Key,
It's a good opportunity to combine everything in one place. We didn't want to be just another messenger system, and really, you haven't got to. It solves a need because there isn't another messenger system out there that's aimed purely at e-commerce retailers. So everything else is fairly generic. But it doesn't really understand what the average e-commerce manager requires and what's realistic in their day. So, for example, you've got they're managing all aspects of the company. They're managing stock behind the scenes. They're managing returns. They're managing all the marketing and driving traffic into the website. They don't have an awful lot of time, unless you're one of the very few companies out there where they do have huge teams. You don't have a lot of time to be managing everything in detail.
Yeah.
So having a live chat on the site is more often than not, it's problematic.
Yeah.
So you need something to take over with certain automation to make it valid.
I guess you can get a lot of your messaging out the way. You could probably sit down as an e-com manager and go, "This is what I'm getting asked. This is what I need to resolve. Hit this, and this already without even before you even need a chatbot. Essentially,
look at our support team. You distribute resources through breaking down what people are actually asking for.
Yeah.
So basically categorizing all the different types of questions, and you just do the same as an e-commerce retailer. You categorize these questions into delivery questions and support questions and return questions and questions to do with various items or garments. You kind of break them down, and then you tackle each one individually. So the idea of digital assistant is it's helping automate a lot of this process through understanding what the user journey is, matching it against other similar personalized user journeys, and then kind of being on the front foot, being proactive with a customer in the communications.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it, really. And there's nothing else out there that really does that. There's a few that have had a go. There's recently you've seen this kind of migration towards people having this almost like this helper bar or something like that, where almost like a hub where all these communications lie.
Or like a separate landing page.
Yeah, like you're starting to see this migration that people are moving towards it, but they tend to be fairly blunt in their nature. They tend to be they'll only exclusively house offers. They won't really. It's not really a hub for full support.
Yeah.
If you think what we're trying to do is everything's based around customer service. So for a long time now, and right up to this date, you've not been able to fully emulate what happens in a retail store.
Yeah, because you need to break the wireframe of a online store. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be that two-way interaction. So, fact of the matter is, if you've got a physical store and you don't have a shop assistant within that store, you will sell less.
Yeah,
simple as that. And to this day, people have their online stores. They lay them out in whichever manner, trying to optimize all the product placement and everything like that to catch someone's eye. But there's still not that. No one's brought in that proactive element of an assistant to come along and say, do you need any help with this? Here's some recommendations, and actually educate the customer.
I think but I also think you take a step back, and I think the key education to retailer still isn't there as well, because I still think people are saying this wireframe, this way of setting your store out is the way to do it. All your information can be surfaced within this sort of
it's
quite
got to a point,
framework,
hasn't it, where
framework. Sorry.
There's those layouts are as good as they're ever going to come.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So 10, 15 years ago, looking back, you could actually lay out a site, and we were laying out sites that are a lot more advanced, understanding user journeys and understanding analytics and conversion, and laying out sites that were more effective than template sites and other sites that are out there. Those template sites are caught up now.
Yeah.
So you can go to Shopify and you can have a site which for whatever, few dollars a month, tens of dollars a month, you can have something that really will convert, as well as one of the big high street retailers.
It's not in the best interest of a platform provider to say to a potential customer as well, you won't be able to surface this information within our wireframe. You get this extra third-party plugin. They're going to say, no, this is fine. Everything they need to see is here and in the right place.
In general, yes, and especially with the kind of your cart platforms, where you're basically given the platform, and you've got to go and educate yourself on how to get the most out of the traffic. But the truth is, you could take a $20 template, you could load all of Debenhams stock into it, and you'll have something that pretty much converts at a similar level to what Debenhams' main website will.
Yeah,
because it's topping out now. The standard of those websites is topping out. Payment gateways, everyone's got access to these payment gateways as well, where you've got split in 3, split in 4, split in 10, whatever it is. Different payment plans, finance plans, things like that. All these numerous ways to pay. Everyone's got access to them nowadays. Yeah. So you need something to differentiate what's out there, because at the end of the day, sites are still only converting at about, on average, 2.1%, something like that across the board, and that's not enough.
See, it does seem simple it seems like a very simple concept to be saying you need to provide that information at a more appropriate time than just say on the top of your category page, which is probably being put there for SEO reasons in the first place. Probably been templated like that originally 5, 6, 7, 8 years back because of SEO purposes. And now it's just taken on as gospel as that's the right place to put it. There's a lot of little things like that where I think it's sort of wisdom that's been passed down as best practice, when really it was based on things that don't really matter anymore in regards to things like that. I think some of the best practice that we see on site builds are bits of information and bits of wisdom that have been passed down just because people say, oh, that's how we do it. That's how you've always done it. That's how you meant to do it. Doesn't seem like anyone's ever had a real crack at talking about that other than us, but obviously it looks like it's obviously in our best interest to talk about it. Yeah. I still feel like there's a lot of education to be done on a retailer side as well for reasons like that. Because you're not going to be told by your platform provider, or you are going to need this extra tool to more personalise your site. They're going to tell you that everything's there and everything's boxed up and it's ready to go.
I think it's just like keeping up with the way shoppers shop now. I think it's changing. So like the way a lot of people know like an overlay will trigger on some sites, and they will go back on incognito or try and trigger it. But I think it's streamlining that process down. So like digital assistant, storing it there. It's like what you were saying, replicating that in-store experience. Like you said, if you go into a shop and you've got an assistant there, they're going to be there throughout. They're not just going to shout at you and then run away.
And they're going to tell you they're going to tell you what you need to know about that section.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you what you need to know about that sizing.
At the right
shoes.
time.
You're buying shoes. You've got a different set of information than you do if you're buying a shirt or a jacket.
Yeah,
Jacket to a shirt's different. Shirt to a t-shirt's different, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit in one set pattern. That's why you're never really going to replace. That's why if you go on Tesco, for example, they've got checkouts in place that are all automated, but you still need someone to come over and verify that you're over 18. You still need someone to come over when it hasn't weighed properly. Maybe they'll get that sorted eventually, but you're always going to need, as far as things are now, for the foreseeable future, you're always going to need someone there, because everything's set to you use wireframes as an example of a website, but then you look at an automated checkout, that's set to a standard. There's a specification there for an automated checkout. You're always going to need that person to come over and have some input. Because what are they doing? They're surfacing the right information to you at that time. They're coming over and letting you know. They're letting someone know this person does look over 18, this person is this person is that. It's a bit of a stretch in terms of tying it back into this conversation, but it does make sense. Of course, people need to start looking at it like that as well. I think sometimes chatbots are seen as something that is there just to funnel people away and keep them quiet a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like Amazon hiding all of their comms back to them so deep within the site if you're trying to get anything back to them.
That is true.
People have started seeing it as a way of
people see it as a defensive maneuver.
Exactly that's it. That sums it up better, I think. People need to stop being defensive with letting people get in contact with them.
Yeah.
Because if you are going to communicate properly, they're probably not going to be confrontational.
No. We've seen that already, people wanting like that assistance and clicking into it, and that's where people go straight away. I think that UI element, they're attracted to that, and we're offering it as opposed to being standoffish, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, you go into it expecting a fight. If you go in for a refund or you've got an issue with a site, you're like, right, where's it? I'm going to get through the chatbot. You type in talk to assistant straight away. It's asking you a question. You're ignoring what the question is. And you're right. You just write in talk to assistant. I sometimes just put...
You've been on Virgin Media as well, have you?
I can't remember where it was, but it was something like that. You're trying to get through each... It's like, can I help with this? Can I help with that? I'm just putting like random numbers in just to confuse it so it puts me through to someone because it doesn't recognise what I'm saying. Like, you go expecting a fight straight away. Whereas hopefully, if you take enough time to look at the journey and do it properly, and surface the information properly, I probably wouldn't have need to be doing that in the first place.
Well, that's one of the few things that can win out nowadays, isn't it? Is that personal touch, and that's where people are looking at their delivery. You see anything that gets delivered now, you buy anything, I guess, especially like jewelry related and fairly medium to high end clothing related. Everything comes nicely. You see like Zara and things where everything's nicely packaged up when it arrives because they're trying to replicate that buying experience online because they can't go up against some of the other retailers there. Yeah. You've got the likes of Zara's one of them actually, I think, that's announced they're going to start doing returns, like charging for returns. Sorry, that's going to be that's the beginning of this thing, this new era that we're coming into, where people can't justify the cost, the outlay of this level of service, this personalised service that they've been trying to offer to differentiate against the likes of Amazon, which will just churn out orders all day long to you. So there is a place for, and people do need to offer out a personalised service, but without the outlay, because they can't afford all this time to be online, sitting on a chat, answering questions and things. They need that element of automation with each customer.
I guess it ties into search being better as well in the first place. Like, if someone's got more information about what they're buying, they've got it at the right time, they've got it in the right place, you've got potential there to start looking at your refunds and start looking at your returns as well, and starting to shave it off at that end rather than looking to just throw the baby out with the bathwater a bit and going, right, we're going to charge for returns now, so we're making it harder for you. It's all defensive. All of it is defensive. That's a defensive move. It's like,
It is, because it's probably, but it probably comes about because people have overstepped the mark in what's viable.
mm-hmm.
You know, in terms of just how much, you know, free delivery, free returns. You've got return rates. I think ASOS return rates, like, don't know how far going back it was. It was like 55% return rate.
Yeah.
I thought it'd been higher than that, you know.
You know what? It might be now. It's the return
think
rates
it's
are bonkers.
Yeah. It's sizing for me. I think they need to put like sizing guides and actually help you.
Well, they've still never managed to
With that.
crack that. I think they've got tools that assist with it now, don't they? Where you can go, I'm
What
typically
size?
this
Oh,
yeah.
size, and
Offers
say
you your
what
size.
you are in various different brands. But it's not ideal, any of it, I don't think.
Because even then, they still take a age to go through to do that. When I'm on page 2 of like a AI sizing guide, and I'm going, yeah, I did this last week, I did this, and it's like, what you did plan on doing next week? Like, it just goes into such detail. It's like, I can't be bothered with that.
Yeah, that is true.
But I suppose that's fast fashion, isn't it? It's so fast because you're not giving you too much to think about in the first place.
Yeah. Well, everything has to be. You've got. We were running the numbers on it. It's part of our presentation decks now, I think. It's just the amount of money people are spending driving traffic into a site and the amount lost. So you've got an average bounce rate of 44.1%. It means you've got, by the time traffic's bounced out of a site, and the example we gave was if you put £100,000 worth of spend into a site, whether it's monthly or annually, you spend £100,000. It's just over £50,000 that's actually sticking on the website. You immediately lose £44,000 or just over £44,000 bounces out your website. You do that monthly, that's close to £600,000 a year you're spending on traffic, which lands on the site and just bounces straight off. In any other medium, that is bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's scary, and yet people are still following this template of doing what everyone else is doing. You know, I dare say people have such a limited attention span nowadays. You've got to engage them straight away in whatever way.
Yeah.
So if it is overlays and things, you know, people, you know, they are like Marmite. Some people like them because they genuinely generate money for them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people go, no, my site's too classy for something that appears in front, you know, appears as a pop-up in front of them. It's, if they want to make revenue, like, you need to resort to these things.
Well, writing it off at that baser level, saying our site's too classy to surface information, it's like, it's completely on you how you do it and what you're talking about.
There's plenty of classy sites do it.
Well, there's
But
plenty of
it's doing it in the right way.
that do it right.
When you're looking at sites just having this much, you know, this much traffic falling out of them, this much value, this much revenue dropping out of them, it's scary. But it's the nature of, and it's probably only going to get worse because people's attention spans are just falling and falling all the time. You see it all the media now. It's everything, you know, in terms of TikTok. What's the average clip on TikTok? Probably barely 30 seconds, I imagine. It's I thought it was bad in my day where you flick through the video chat. Do you remember doing that? MTV. You'd have about 20 channels and you'd flick through them one by one. And then by the time you got to the end, a new song started on MTV, so you go back to MTV and work your way through to Kerrang again.
Well, that's that thing.
We thought we had it bad.
I suppose it hasn't changed in that respect. You've got less. You're cycling through 5 videos rather than a billion or whatever it is. But it is. It's one of those things where I think like that wisdom that's grandfathered in is also like, because the templates aren't changing, because they're pretty much at what they can't be any more than what they are now. Most sites look exactly the same.
Yeah, so there's a level of acceptance there. People literally just accepting their bounce rate is going to be 40%.
Because that's what it is. That's how it is. And
they're told by,
at all.
quite often they'll be told by everyone around them, like everyone that's selling websites and everyone that's in marketing, you know, people that potentially pushing traffic into a site, this is an acceptable rate. Oh, we'll try and work on it to get down. But everyone around you is in a similar position. Well, it shouldn't really be acceptable.
But that's what we see with the people who it doesn't work for. It's because they haven't done it properly. And they're like, well, that doesn't work. I told you it wouldn't work. It's because they've put the bare minimum into it in the first place. Because when you look at it as a bare bones concept, giving people more information more frequently in more places, it's not really that hard to sell when you look at it like that. But then you've got this pushback because it's going against so many years of ingrained.
It's just getting the timing
stuff.
right, and it's the same. Look, it's exactly the same as any other industry or any other physical store.
Mm-hmm.
So if you turn up, if someone walks through the door and you turn up and say, "Would you like to join our newsletter? Would you like free delivery today or whatever?" It's just they'll just about turn and walk out the store more often than not.
Yeah, if you do it straight away.
But if they walk into the store, have a small browse around, then they're walking out of the store, and you approach them saying anything of interest today, you're probably more likely to have some engagement there.
Or if you were catching,
well, it couldn't go any worse because they're leaving the store.
Yeah, but if they're looking at something and you were to go, "Oh, we've got something that looks very similar to this over here," that's not sending you anywhere.
Do you think it's traditionally seen as quite difficult to do then for a retailer to implement that and do it right?
I think so.
I think so. I think everyone's conditioned by what they've seen in the past 10 years of kind of pop-ups, overlays and things. Everyone associates them with when you're trying to get a dodgy stream with a football or something like that, and you've got pop-ups appearing all over the place or whatever. Like everyone's got negative, connotations of it, but used correctly, you've seen some of the big retailers work. They are.
Well, I think we even made the mistake by talking about the form as itself, talking about it as a pop-up where it's when you're talking about it like
true.
that.
That's part of why we want to engineer it away from just being pop-ups. It wants to be kind of just subtle feeds of information into the customer. That's why we are essentially moving away from the overlay as we know it. This is why it's evolving on, because it needs to get more. It needs to get more customizable. It needs to get more personalized to the user journey.
Well, I guess one of the design philosophy of Digital Assistant, having it there all the time rather than it being a pop-up that takes up the entire screen, and you're just seeing that once.
Yeah.
And that's it, and it's gone. It does allow a retailer to have that information there all the time as well.
Well, if you're in a website and you've got
the speed that someone wants to access it, they don't have to have it there. They can access it when they're ready.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because especially with the big websites, if you've got something like a Big Doug shelving retailer, and they've got all these different departments, you've got storage, shelving, different things all around warehousing. You've probably got offers in different areas of the website which will never be seen by the user.
Yeah.
Because if they've come for shelving, they're not going to see the offers on on storage materials and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea is it's trying to push as much opportunity for sales as possible,
and preventing them the need
site.
to go elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
So we've launched it. We've sort of soft launched it with current clients now. When are we launching? It's next month, isn't it? Or is this
next
Feb,
week? Yeah, 18th of January. We're launching it.
Right,
to everyone. Everyone can go in.
I think it's live on 258 websites at the moment.
On our clients, and
So
we've seen
been picked up fairly quickly.
Yeah, we've seen people going in and doing a lot with it. I think looping back to what we were talking about CRO being seen as traditionally quite difficult. I think when we were creating Digital Assistant, we had that in mind of putting them templates and strategies in place for the retailer, like making it more simple, as we were saying about like support, like seeing what's difficult for them, what issues they have coming in. Mm-hmm. We've literally targeted it right down. So, okay, you want to show your customers more products, you want to introduce them back into the user journey, show recently viewed, and we've split that down so it's a lot easier for the retailer to use and set up straight away. And I think we're finding that already, aren't we, with like clients going in, messing around, playing with the campaigns. We've set them up like triggers, even language, like it's been a very much a cross-team thing.
Yeah. I think setting it up in like an app store style as well.
Yeah, so they're just ready to go. It's potentially 3 or 4 clicks and you've got something live on your website that's in your brand as well.
I think it's like minimum personalization, it's 5 and then it's
done. It's perfect for stuff like reviews and Even the search in there looks good. To be fair, everything that's in there looks it looks clean as well.
Well, it works well because it encapsulates the whole user journey, the whole user experience. We've even got it to the point now where I think the latest rollout was the traffic sources rollout.
Oh yeah.
So what that means is that if you've got traffic that's coming from a specific website, so it could be from a website, it could be Groupon or something. So they've got an offer on Groupon. Basically, Digital Assistant greets you when you land on the site, and it continues the journey. So it acknowledges that you've come from Groupon. It acknowledges and reminds you of what the code was, because I think there's copy and paste issues coming from some of these affiliate sites. So you can carry the code right through to the checkout. I think there's some crazy stat whereby 70% of all codes that are revealed are not used in the transaction.
Wow.
So a lot of retailers will go, great. That's great for me, because it means they're not getting 10% off.
Yeah.
But how many of these customers are not proceeding to the transaction because they've lost the code?
Yeah.
They don't understand things they've mentioned before, like incognito. There's still quite a big audience that doesn't understand these things, or they might have gone on the site the affiliate site, and it's not, they've lost track of where that code was. Especially when you're hit with a number of different codes, you're not sure the relevancy of each one. At least by surfacing it on the site in the user journey, it can pick it, and depending on what you're shopping for, it can pick out the relevant codes.
Well, it's cool in that it can allow us outside the bubble of the site as well when we're personalising stuff.
Well, that's what you do, wouldn't you? If
If
someone's coming in for a meeting, you'd understand where they've come from that day. You'd kind of greet them in, wouldn't you? You'd ask how the journey was.
Yeah.
You'd ask, even daft things. What's the weather like in Leicester this morning?
Well, at the very least, you'd have an idea of what company they were from.
Absolutely, yeah. So why you do these things in any other business? Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it online? It's these little things that will make all the difference for retailers. The same extends onto paid traffic as well. So we can actually identify which paid campaigns are pushing through the users, and we can target them specifically. Email's another good example. So if you're sending out an email where you might have something like our 24-hour sale ends at midnight, and someone clicks through the banner saying that with the countdown on it, they're actually greeted with the same message saying, thanks for clicking through from the email. Our sale ends at midnight, and having a countdown timer to provide some urgency on site as well. So you're starting to create you're basically using Digital Assistant as this hub that's in control of this whole targeting of new customers and existing and returning customers coming back into the site again, acknowledging them and taking them through the user journey.
I think the more it develops and the more you can personalise that cycle rather than it being a straight line through it. I mean, that's what we've always tried to do.
You've got to look at the revenue being lost just through, like say, I'll come back to it, with bouncing revenue through the site. Like literally £55,000 being lost for every £100,000 you're spending.
And that being the given
traffic,
and that being the sort of.
So you've got to, not only have you got to make the most of it first time coming through the site to purchase, you've got to absolutely take advantage of it in its returning journeys, and its if it bounces off site, but then they come back again, or if they add to basket and then you've got to understand where they are in the user journey. Same goes if you go in the BMW garage and you're looking for a car and you have a great big conversation, you're and ahhing about it, and you're learning about it with the assistant, and then you come back in, you're considering it, you come back in a week later, speak to the same assistant whose memory has been wiped. It's going to be a frustrating time for you, isn't it?
I think it's like 99% of people don't buy on the first visit to your website. It's really high.
Yeah.
So
you need to understand these buying cycles that people are going through.
Oh, and if you need to understand it in order to create one as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't the fundamental understanding of it, the one you do try and create is going to leak that much.
But it's exciting. It's exciting going into next year, and that this is pretty much untapped territory for a lot of retailers. So we get the joy of introducing it.
The campaign store itself, I think, is pretty much the key feature of it as well for setting it up. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's what. Well, it sort of follows the same design philosophy of the entire thing about it being easy to set up, easy to use, easy to surface, and then from both sides, I guess.
Where did Surface come from? When we started using all these
Because I think it
London
makes sense.
marketing
No, I
terms,
think it's not. I don't think surfacing is. I think it's just a good word
as
because
opposed
it does
to peering.
it does a lot of heavy lifting though.
Oh, I like surfacing.
It's pulling highlights, I guess. We could just say pulling highlights.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But I think the campaign store does it well because it's, even though some of the campaigns might look similar, like you say, some of the key triggers and some of the key, like...
It's like strategy based, isn't it? So, I mean, I guess a lot of it was moving away from how we set overlays up previously and into this new like dashboard, redesign whole section of the dashboard.
So I guess the way they were set up previously was very archaic, I think, personally. It's a list of rules, really, which if you're an ecom manager with no time, sitting down to do that is a nightmare.
Well, yeah, and understanding it and learning it. Like, I feel like you can just drop into this and...
Campaign store-wise, what were you thinking? Where'd you seen it? It was a bit like
you know
the...
what it was? Netflix.
Yeah, that was... there was. I knew there was
I
something.
It was
remember now.
inspired a bit by Netflix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just having them all in one place with overviews. Unfortunately, we don't have like nice DVD covers for our...
Blockbuster ads.
It has a similar layout to how the Apple App Store looks on a desktop as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
true.
nods design wise from there. So is it, if we're describing how simple it is to use, it does pretty much look like an app store with digital assistant campaigns in it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the key takeaways for me, because it's so easy to find out what you're setting up.
Yeah.
And quick to set up as well. I mean, at one point it was too quick. Do you remember? It was like 2 clicks and it was live on someone's site, and we had to sort of
we had
Yeah.
to rein it in
we
a
had
bit.
to rein it in a bit because people were setting all sorts live. Well, we were doing testing. We were setting all sorts live.
Yeah. It's because it's all there for you already. Like I said, we've worked across different teams, work with CSM, like what strategies work best, what language works best. So I mean, you can go in and you can update your own branding on it, put your own tone of voice into it. But we've said there with what works. We put the triggers and conditions on
Mhm.
it, so it's all set up. You can personalize it, but
I think that's
It's
key as well. I
there.
think the personalization is where we've taken all the hard work out of the building the
initial,
engine
yeah.
and putting that together, and then you can actually go in and make sure the comms are right, I guess.
I suppose, like we're saying, like these teams are really busy already. And then we were talking about, you need to get it in the right place of the user journey. So we've said, right, this is where we think it should work in the user journey. You tailor it to your own customers.
Yeah.
And I think that the only time we're buying them the time to make sure it's right for their customers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's in the right place. That's all they have to do, really. They have to make sure the tone's right, the comms are right, and they're in the right spots on a timeline, I guess, of a journey,
Exactly.
rather than having to go in, set it up, pick triggers and the conditions of the triggers, and like go in and go, it's this person on this journey, pick this out of the campaign store.
Yeah.
And it's quite obvious where the free ones are as well. We mentioned that this digital assistant's free.
Yeah, so
I don't think we mentioned that
digital assistant at start point, you've got a variety of free campaigns, which you can just, I think it's like a lot of urgency ones, isn't it? Countdown
Yeah.
timers, end of sale, free delivery, countdown timers.
yet. Like your more standard ones.
You
the
can
free
link your
ones.
product catalog into it literally for free straight away with the recently viewed, how we're talking about returning customers coming back to your site. Because you want to show your products off. It's not just on your website, it's
Mhm.
also in digital assistant.
That's pretty cool. It's pulling products through the digital assistant. I think we don't talk about that enough.
Yeah, I know.
Recently Viewed's quite a nice campaign because, like, how many times do you go on a website and you're browsing around products and you might have an idea of 1 or 2 different products that you're considering purchasing, but like most people, you'll then leave, consider it, and then when you come back to the website, what most people do, certainly me, Christmas shopping around, like last month, what people tend to do is they'll go back to the homepage.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
won't, because if you look at the URLs, you might start typing it in. It auto completes the URLs. You have no idea which one it was because they're that long winded. So you just end up going back to the homepage. At least 90% of people do that,
Mhm.
and then navigate back to the products that we're already at. So again, what you're doing is you've gone through the user journey, you've worked out, you've narrowed it down to a handful of products, and then we're allowing customers to then come back and start the user journey again. So by appearing with recently viewed products just appearing in the bottom corner out of Digital Assistant, it means we can just navigate them back quickly to where they were and just continue the user journey instead of having a minute of lost time where people open up the tabs and navigate back to the products that they were at previously.
Mm-hmm.
Reducing that frustration as well, isn't it? Like,
Well, it's
can't
time to
find what
buy
they
as well.
want.
We've said that people have a limited attention span.
Exactly.
So if we can get them in front of that product and continue the last stages of that user journey, then you're going to make more sales. It's obvious. You're going to make more sales off it. And that's a free module that we offer to everyone.
So the setup's completely free. There isn't an onboarding cost. There's they can self-serve now as well. I believe people can set up.
Yeah, you can just sign up yourself. Shopify's a couple of clicks as a plugin now as well.
Oh, I forgot about the Shopify plugin. Yeah, that makes integration a lot easier. But even then, it's not a huge amount of work, is it?
No, and integrating on anything, we've got all the models, everything. I just tell you where to go, what to do.